Make sure. There we go.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Today is July 22nd, 2021. This is a special meeting of the Cupertino City Council. It has an open session component and it has a closed session component. The open session component is to complete our agenda of our regularly scheduled meeting on July 20th, 2021. And the only remaining item from there was item number 27. And that is now item number 1 on our current agenda. Madam City Clerk, could you please take the roll call?
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Way.
Here.
Councilmember Willie.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chow.
Here.
Mayor Paul.
And I'm here. Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. As I stated, the item number 1 under ordinances and action items brought forth from our July 20th meeting is drought related. The subject specifically is to receive a 2021 drought condition information update on the city's ongoing water conservation measures for city operations, and also for council to provide input to staff on potential future water conservation measures. I'm appreciative of our staff for their preparation here. We have a 15-minute presentation together with many representatives of our local water-related interests. So thank you all for attending tonight. Mr. City Manager, would you like to introduce the presenter for the presentation?
We'll go first to Director of Public Works, Roger Lee, to introduce a presenter who is presenting to the council for the first time. Roger.
All right, thank you, Greg. Mayor, members of council, Roger Lee, Director of Public Works. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jimmy Tan to make this presentation. Jimmy is our Assistant Director of Public Works responsible for operations, and Jimmy started with us just this last May. And joining Jimmy in this presentation is Sustainability Manager Andre DeVort and representatives from our water retailers. From Cal Water Service Company, we have Don Smithson, Susan Cardone, and Rob Seeley, and we have Mr. John Tang from San Jose Water Company. And while not presenting, but available for questions, is Kirsten Struve. She is the Assistant Officer for the Water Supply for Valley Water. I do encourage council and the public to ask any questions regarding the information on these slides. We've got a lot of knowledgeable people here to assist on this. And with that, Jimmy, I'll let you take the presentation away. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Lee. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Jimmy Tan, Assistant Director of Public Works and Operations. The item in front of you tonight is to provide information on the drought, city's water conservation measures, and water retailers programs. And as the director mentioned, presenting tonight with me is Andre with the City's Sustainability Division, as well as staff from California Water Service and San Jose Water, and staff from Valley Water is also here tonight to answer any questions. The agenda for the presentation is as follows. I'll provide a brief overview of the drought status and the drought impacts to Valley Water. I'll share information on where municipal water is used at city facilities and how much water is consumed. Then discuss the city's water conservation measures for municipal water use and what was implemented during the 2015 drought for city's operations. And share information on the current proposed water conservation efforts for the drought, and then provide information on the water retailers' actions. And lastly, share our next steps and field council's input and questions. In regards to the drought in California, the state is in its second consecutive year of dry conditions, resulting in drought or near drought conditions throughout many portions of the state. And this slide shows a timeline of regulatory actions that recently took place throughout the year. And on April 21st, the governor issued a drought proclamation for Mendocino and Sonoma counties, and then also expanded that proclamation to 41 more counties on May 10th. However, Santa Clara County was not included at that time. And on May 25th, the U.S. Drought Monitor report indicated that Santa Clara County is in extreme drought stage. And on June 9th, Valley Water held a special meeting to discuss the drought and approve the resolution to declare a water shortage emergency conditions. And recently, on July 8th, the governor issued an executive order to call on Californians to voluntarily reduce water use by 15% compared to 2020 levels through simple actions such as reducing landscape irrigation, running dishwashers and washing machine only when full, and finding and fixing leaks in the water systems, and installing water efficient shower heads and taking shorter showers. In addition, the governor added 9 more counties where drought effects are increasingly severe, and one of the 9 counties included Santa Clara County. So how has the drought impacted Valley Water? There are many factors that has impacted Valley Water. First, there's low local water supplies. Local watershed runoff in the county has been substantially limited since 2020 due to extreme dry conditions. As a result, Valley Water's current local surface water storage has been low at 26% of the 20 years average as of June 2021. And with little snowpack, there's very little runoff to fill statewide reservoirs as well, and therefore the imported water allocations that Valley Water receives is less than the previous water allocations during the last drought in 2015. In addition to low reservoirs and storage and imported water allocations, the Anderson Reservoir, which is Valley Water's largest reservoir, is unavailable for use for the duration of the seismic retrofit project, which is expected to last 10 years. And as for the Coyote Reservoir, the Valley Water's second largest reservoir, there's also limitations of storage because of safety concerns. The groundwater storage is currently normal levels, but may drop rapidly due to limited recharge and increased pumping due to current and extended drought conditions. Therefore, Valley Water held a special meeting to discuss the drought on June 9th and approved the resolution to declare a water shortage emergency conditions. And the Valley Water called for retailers to achieve water use reduction of target of 15% of 2019 water use or 33% of 2013 water use. And this slide shows information in regards to where and how much water is being used at city facilities. As you can see, the percentages of water use at city facilities are somewhat consistent between the both years. And the reason why these 2 years were selected is due to the fact that in 2013 was the benchmark for the prior 2015 drought event. And for this current drought, 2019 is also being used as a benchmark. So on your left, you can see the water use in 2013, on the right for 2019. And the majority of the city predominant water use is at parks and schools to irrigate the turf. The city maintains 19 parks totaling about 148 acres. And the city also has a joint use agreement with the school district to maintain turf at 9 school sites, totaling about 46 acres as well. The school turf and city's parks are programmed for use and our largest water users. So we need to look for opportunities to find the right balance to conserve water in these areas. The remaining water is being used at golf course, median facilities, landscaping, and at city's facilities. And the city has done a great job of converting existing landscaping with drought-tolerant plants that require little irrigation around facilities. And the medians has also been converted with drip irrigation to reduce water use. So there's some noticeable reduction in the water use for median and facilities landscaping between the 2 years. So this slide shows the total water use from 2013 through 2020, as well as the water consumption at city facilities. So as you can see, the city's total water use in 2013 was quite high. Then during the drought in 2015, the city was able to decrease the overall water use to meet the percentage restriction of 30% of the 2013 water use set by Valley Water. And as you can see from the reduction in the total water use in 2016. From 2017 to 2020, the city's water use is somewhat consistent and increased a little higher than 2016, but still lower than 2013. For the current drought, Valley Water is imposing, as I mentioned, water use reduction of 15% of 2019 or 30% of 2013 water use. Both of these baseline information are shown on this chart. The 2013 is shown as a solid black line and 2019 is shown as a solid red line. Both the 33% and then 15% reductions are also shown in dashed lines. So since the city has done an excellent job in 2015 and onwards of conserving water throughout the years by implementing water conservation measures, there's just minimal amount of adjustments that we need to make in order to our water use in order to meet our current reduction percentage. So what were the conservation measures which the city implemented during the previous drought event? Through council support, and the city amended the city's ordinance 15.32 water conservations, which to allow City Council to adopt water use restrictions and to also allow Public Works to implement water conservation measures at city facilities. The city also developed water conservation measures for city operations, and this document include guidelines on water use restrictions at city facilities, depending on the mandate or recommendations imposed by Valley Water or state. This document also includes description and actions at various stages of drought, and aerial site plans were prepared to show the water use at each facility. Since the city does not operate our own water system, the city partnered with Valley Water and water retailers, Cupertino, it's Cal Water Service and San Jose Water, to offer additional rebates of gray water, landscape conversion, or installation of rainwater capture devices. And then as these actions and efforts, and the city was able to achieve the 31% reduction in the 2015 overall restriction requirement of 30%. Now, this slide shows the water conservation measures for city operations. I know there's a lot of information here, which I won't go into detail. And this information is included in the staff report as an attachment. One thing to note is that this policy is similar to the content within the water shortage contingency plans that are used by water retailers. That includes drought stages, as you see on the left, and there are 5 stages with varying conditions and actions based on percentage of water use reductions. With the current drought, the city is at stage 4. This following shows some of the actions under stage 4. Majority of the actions are related to reduction of irrigation water use for trees and turf areas. And there's also an action of not filling ponds at Memorial Park and to stop operations of the interactive fountain community hall. There's also restriction of water use to clean sidewalks and plaza areas and minimizing the use of water for street sweeping. Now I turn it over to Andre to present the next couple of slides.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd just like to elaborate a little bit on some of the community-based programming that was begun in 2015 and continues to this day. I just have 2 slides here to share with you. So this one really shows you the trend of what we call uptake of these programs in Cupertino. I won't go through the whole slide, but I will say that there's a number of incentives and rebates offered through Valley Water, including turf removal rebates, rain garden installation rebates, rain barrels, and for larger properties, rain cisterns, as well as converting spray head irrigation to drip. Those are all elaborated at the valleywater.org website under their conservation incentives website. I will say also that in 2015, the council decided to boost or match with some of the cost share to increase the value of incentives for our property owners to the tune of an additional $1 per square foot. And you can really see the result of that in the 2015-2016 time period on the chart. So I just wanted to point out that trend. I'll note as well that recently Valley Water increased by another $1 per square foot for turf removal starting in June of this year. With the additional $1 per square foot offered through Cupertino cost sharing program, that brings it to a total of $3 per square foot value for the customer for that particular type of project. So over the course of the last decade, I'd like to point out that collectively, these projects have created permanent water use reductions to the tune of 9 million gallons per year throughout the community. We really hope to see increased use of these incentives, and we expect that we will. We did start to see an uptick in lawn conversion type projects beginning in 2020. We suspect because there was more homeowners at home trying to take on these types of projects. But we really expected that with the increased value of the incentives this year that we'll start to see increased uptake. Next slide, please, Jimmy. One thing I wanted to call out was a quite innovative program that's unique to Cupertino here. To our knowledge, there's no other program like this in California being operated by a city. And this is the Climate Victory Gardens program. This program was first proposed by the City Council as part of the FY 2019-20 work program, and it offers a concierge service for providing on-site assessments, landscape design, planting, and a quality assurance follow-up for residents who wish to take on a lawn conversion project and convert it to a drought-tolerant landscape. As you can see illustrated here, this is an actual project that went through our program just in the last couple months. So far, we've converted 8 sites successfully under this program, with another 15 sites in the construction pipeline. Really, it was conceived by the City Council as a pilot to really increase uptake in these types of projects, and with the realization that there is a high barrier to entry to executing these kinds of projects for your typical property owner. And so the council's intent here was really to test out this type of turnkey style program and see if we couldn't promote more of these types of gardens in the community. And so far, we've gotten some great feedback from the participants. When we opened up the Climate Victory Gardens program to interested residents, we almost immediately filled up our entire pipeline of interested projects, interested people. And we have a pipeline of about 40 plus sites. They keep coming in every day in our wait list, interest list. So if this, we're on track here for about 33,000 square feet of converted landscapes through this program. In addition, there's 3 new laundry gray water systems, and we're estimating that's going to be in the range of 660,000 gallons of water saved annually through this program. And we do plan to bring a full evaluation of this program before the council when the pilot period is completed, estimated in December of 2021. Just a note as well, other community outreach that we're doing is centered on cupertino.org/drought, where you can find live data dashboards, which are quite interesting to see real-time data that elaborates on what Jimmy presented earlier. We are also underway with a social media campaign, producing a banner to hang over city streets to raise awareness of drought conditions, and a short commercial that's being produced by our comms team. So this is all in addition to the regional awareness campaign and in partnership with the regional awareness campaign that's being conducted by Valley Water. That's all for me, Jimmy. Thanks.
Great, thanks. So I'll quickly go through this here. I know we're running out of time. So these are some of the city's current conservation efforts for the current drought. We're going to implement the current water conservation measures that we did in 2015. And Andre mentioned about the drought webpage that's listed on there. And we'll continue to partner with the water retailers to offer rebates, on the various different water conservation programs. And this here shows the what we have worked on in regards to the maps on the slides that shows the proposed landscaping water use at various city facilities, and various different irrigation areas are shown on this map, where it's limited irrigation, drought, brown areas, turf areas, drip irrigation areas, and as well as programmed areas as well. So I'll turn over to the presentation over to the water retailers. So the water retailers, has already started implementing their actions here. So due to the recent drought, they implemented stages within their water shortage contingency plan, and they also filed Rule 14.1 with CPUC recently. And so for Cal Water, they're implementing stage 1 of their water shortage contingency plan, which went into effect on July 14th. As for San Jose Water, the advice letters 563 and 564 was filed on June 18th as well. And then they're implementing stage 3 of the water shortage contingency plan. And I'll turn it over to Cal Water to present these slides.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Paul and Council, for inviting us to be a part of this tonight. I am Rob Seeley. I'm the Community Affairs Representative for Cal Water. With us is also Susan Cordone, who is our Conservation Coordinator, as well as Don Smithson, who is our District Manager for the district, as well as the district directly to the north. So I will work to be brief. So We just wanted to mention that Cupertino falls into our Los Altos district. The big takeaway is we've been here for about 90 years. There's a lot of infrastructure, and where we get our water from, groundwater, recycled water, purchased from Valley Water as well. So next slide, please. So I know we all want to talk about Rule 14.1. What I did want to do real quick was just talk about our rebates and programs that we're using to help conserve water during this time, and just kind of show you some of the tools that we're working with briefly, both for the residents. And then next slide, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that given the time constraints, what I'd like to do is to move this to questions with regard to what our council might have for questions, which could include the water retailers as well as the district. And I'd like to give our members of the public the opportunity to speak as well. And so I will refer the public to the slides in the presentation. This will be under presentations for the agenda item. I thank you for being here, Rob, and your colleagues at Cal Water, as well as John and your colleagues over at San Jose Water, and anyone from the water district. I apologize if I missed the name there. Perhaps it was Kirsten, is that right? Kirsten Strew from the local water district. But I'm going to go ahead and bring this over to our city council for any questions of either staff or the representatives from the two private entities in the water district here on the presentation. So I see a hand raised from Councilmember Wood.
Yeah, I'll try to be real brief, but the first question that would jump out at me, which is the most visible, and that is, so I did see in the slides it mentioned, but it didn't say talk about them. Anderson Reservoir, Coyote Reservoir. I mean, for people seeing what we're used to seeing in water, and Stevens Creek Reservoir, Lexington Reservoir, San Luis Reyes Reservoir. Can you just tell us what are the levels that those are currently at? I mean, that's the first indicator that we see that there's a water problem.
Kirsten, do you want to discuss that? I know that like Anderson is completely empty and Coyote is like maybe at a quarter, but I'm not aware of the others.
Sure. Yeah, I think you had it in your staff report. So good evening, Council and Mayor, Kirsten Struve, Valley Water. Yeah, so our local storage is very low as well because we have not had much rain this winter. Anderson is completely drained because of a federal order to protect health and safety, and we have an ongoing seismic retrofit project there. And we publish a water tracker on our website every month that shows, you know, where we're at with our local water supply conditions as well as the imported water supply conditions.
Okay, maybe just still on the Stevens Creek Reservoir. What's the status of that? Don't we get, and this maybe is our staff since it's not Cal Water, but is Stevens Creek Reservoir pretty empty? Any comment?
Stevens Creek Reservoir is primarily used for groundwater recharge. It is not a reservoir that, you know, directly supplies any drinking water treatment plants. And we have the levels of, I don't have it at the top of my head, but we have the levels of each reservoir in that water tracker that I talked about.
Okay, great. So then maybe more of a question for, you know, residents and homeowners. So maybe to Andre. So the picture of the green grass and being switched over to the drought tolerant landscape, great idea. The question that I would ask, so there's a combination that gets the resident to $3 per square foot of rebate, but for something like you showed in that picture, what is the cost to the resident to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. The city's going to kind of give me the design. He's going to, let's say that it's 300 square feet, 200 square feet, half the size of a regular garage, 200 square feet, $3 a square foot is coming back. So that's going to be $600. what would it cost that resident to remove the grass, you know, paying someone to do it, remove the grass, supply all the materials, and install the drought tolerant landscape on that 200 square feet? Any idea?
Sure. Thanks, Councilmember Willie. First, I'll say that in terms of what residents and business owners should be doing right now, Valley Water and city staff are trying to emphasize short, quick conservation exercises. So really, we're trying to emphasize and promote behavioral changes as well as quick things you can do at home, like changing out your low flow water fixtures. So that being said, the landscape conversion projects are extremely valuable for the long term. We're seeing a huge uptick in interest and therefore the market cost of these types of projects. We tried to design the program to try to capture with a basic offering that the rebate could pay for most of the materials and labor to provide an entire lawn conversion project at a basic level, but also allow for residents who have a very personal connection to their yards to make changes and therefore pay the difference on their own dollar. So we're seeing market rates anywhere, when we started this process, anywhere from $5 to $15 a square foot for a landscape conversion project. And that's pretty high compared to what it has been historically. So I can say that there's a huge amount of interest and actually a bit of a labor shortage as well in this space that's driving up costs.
Maybe one, you know, since we're on there before I let off then, and that is for that 200 square feet of grass, and let's say it switched over to drought tolerant, how many gallons per month or how many gallons per year would the resident expect to stop using for 200 square feet? Any idea? Can you?
Yeah, rule of thumb we've been using is about 20 gallons per year per square foot.
Wow. Okay, great. That's a great number.
Great. Thanks very much, Councilmember Woolley. Next, we have Councilmember Moore.
Hi, I'm not sure who to direct this question to, but looking in the staff report, it's mentioned that the rebate cap for commercial and large multifamily sites, 5 or more units, was also recently increased from $20,000 to $50,000. So I'm wondering how many commercial properties have taken you up on this, because what I'd like to see, and I'm kind of curious if we can do, is to require our new landscaping to, if we don't already have this, that 25% be drought tolerant, that the part of the commercial property landscaping would need to be with California natives as well, to help with the decline in bees and pollinators. But I'm also wondering if we have the right as a city to convert the city-owned parkway from grass to California natives and lower use plants and change the irrigation if we have some leeway there. And then my other question is school joint use turf. What influence do we have in having some of the turf areas which aren't playing fields be converted to more drought tolerant landscaping? Thank you.
Andre, I'll let you take the first part. The second part, Councilmember Moore, and we absolutely can change out at our own city facilities to more drought tolerant items in the more passive areas, and we've done that. Go over to Wilson Park there by the Pottery building, and you can see that. Then your second question escapes me now. Or your last one.
Well, I'm wondering, so perhaps along Stevens Creek Boulevard, we've got grass areas in the parkway. The parkway is actually city-owned. Is there some way that we can do what's referred to as flip the strip and change it from regular grass turf to low water use California natives? Since we do own that land, I'm just wondering what influence we have, or is that, talk to the property owner, see what can be done?
I know there's some maintenance agreements to where we're not watering those or maintaining those areas along Stevens Creek Boulevard. So it'd be a conversation that we can enter into.
Councilmember Moore, I'll attempt to address the first question you had regarding private property. there is a WELO ordinance which does require a water budget for many types of development projects. It sets a water budget that essentially promotes or limits the amount of non-drought tolerant plantings you can do on a particular project. I don't have the details of our WELO ordinance handy, but I think if that's great feedback that we'd like to take back for areas to look at within our municipal code to encourage further conservation as part of development.
Okay, thank you. And I was wondering if you have any statistics on how many commercial properties have taken you up on the rebate for those. And then lastly, what can we do with the schools since we have these joint use sites because they need the playing fields to be watered for sure. There are for what we own at Creekside, there are a few more areas that could be taken back along Miller. There's a little space there that I've been watching for a while that could perhaps be re-landscaped. And so I see that the city is trying to convert this over around Quinlan. I'm sure we can do something more efficient there. But when it comes to the actual schools, what can we do? Have a conversation with them. What kind of plans can we put in place?
Yeah, what I can get to you is a more detailed breakdown on the incentive breakdown in the past history, and see that's a vast majority of that is residential properties, though in the chart that we showed. Commercial properties, it's a very much of a different animal to take on one of those larger projects. I will say that we are working with a rather large HOA in Cupertino to address some of their grass, which is a really enticing opportunity for us, as those are very expansive kind of grass areas typically. But I'd like to get back to you with some more detail on the commercial uptake, because that falls into more of a custom incentive program. And Valley Water will probably be able to help us provide that information to you. And I'll defer to Roger when it comes to the schools question.
Great. So I'm going to do a time check on us right now. We're about half an hour into this item, which is actually the approximate allocation. I'll move some of our time for the item after this, which is actually going to be our future items and follow-up reports from our staff and council. But I see Vice Mayor Chow has a hand up. Councilmember Willie, I'll need to relegate you to comments after public comment. I don't see hands raised from the public at this point. But Vice Mayor Chow, if you have some or a question with regard to the presentations or to our guests here this evening.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm interested in the landscape converging or any incentive for commercial and multi-unit apartments. Also, I think the staff can give us more data later. I have a question about the oxygen production. I see that it's good that we are converting to drought-tolerant plant, but when I go to the coast, usually the opulent plants there look a lot more green and they cover a lot more ground. As we are converting them, are we losing oxygen production as a result? Because we don't want to be a city that really doesn't have a lot of plants. So I'm wondering, are they producing sufficient oxygen and process? Yeah.
I don't have a great answer for that directly, Councilmember Chow, but I will say that the in general, the ecological benefits of a drought-tolerant garden are far greater than what's being provided by grass or your standard turf. But I think that's something that would be interesting to research further.
Yeah, thank you. Basically processing the carbon dioxide. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting question. Okay, so we'll go on to our members of the public. I do see some members of the public in attendance. I don't see any hands raised from our members of the public, so we'll provide a moment in case anyone would like to speak on this item. Again, that's item number 1 on our special meeting agenda tonight. Okay, so at this point, I don't see any hands raised from the public. I'll bring this back to our city council for some wrap-up comments. Council Member Willie, did you want to follow up on a question or have some comments at this point?
Yeah, probably can't get an answer tonight, but I think it's really important. And that is if staff could get back to us with what is the yearly gallons that are used for our swimming pools and also community hall fountain. I mean, these are really important, I feel, really important for the families with kids and being able to get exposure to water. And so those pools, how much are they consuming per year? Because we really would, I think we'd like to keep those pools available for the community. And boy, the community fountain, the community hall, that when it's on, boy, the kids gravitate to that. And it doesn't have a pool or a pond or something, just fountains that they run through. So if staff could get back to us and tell us, you know, how many gallons and how does that compare to, you know, some of the other water uses so that we can understand, can we salvage these? Thank you.
And to be clear, now absolutely we can do that, Councilmember Willie. The swimming pool at Blackberry Farm, or any swimming pool, we're not saying has to be emptied. There's some restrictions as to like a new pool being filled and things like that, but our pools would continue to operate. The community interactive fountain at that is off due to the drought. But we'll get that data.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Willie. And next we have Councilmember Way.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. So my comment is the drought situation in California, what we have is pretty consistent. So our city, I was hoping that we're not just going to meet the minimum, water reduction, a long-range plan to really convert our city, at least the properties on our city, to be drought resistant, to set a good examples for the community. So a long-term plan that not just a reaction to a drought emergency, but also just in the next 10 years have a plan to just really make our city a drought resistant city. And the second is, do we have an ordinance? I think we do, about the minimum drought resistant plans. Can we up that? Can we, how does it edit that and then do a research and then maybe have a bigger percentage on the ordinance that require new development to have certain percentage of drought resistant and landscape?
Any answer from staff or our, I guess it would be staff since this is ordinance related.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple comments. As we do our meeting renovations that we are annually, we're making conversions to drip all the time and have been, since 2013. So I do appreciate that comment and the need to just continue to do this, whether you have a drought year or not, because it's just going to happen. I know that we have a zero-scape requirements on new development, and we do have an ordinance, if I recall, but I would have to see how current that is, Councilmember Way. But I do know we have the requirements, but I can look at that.
Right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Way. Councilmember Moore, did you have any closing comments at this point?
Well, with regards to the changing over our landscaping, perhaps if we were to alter an ordinance, that we would have a target that annually we want to convert over a minimum of 10% of non-field space that's turf. Maybe put some kind of a target in there that could help. I did my own flip the strip thing. I did not use this, the rebate money, but I did this earlier this year. It was a pretty affordable project. And if you're just working on the Parkway strip, it's not that big. It's really manageable and you feel like you've made this great accomplishment at the end. So I hope that we have some communication outreach that people know that they can get some financial incentive help with that. And then I was a little curious about the Cal Water rebates that were being discussed because we have residents that are on San Jose Water. here. So is San Jose Water also providing rebates? And then it'd be great if we make sure that we have that on the landing page, how to get to those rebates, so that people are changing their showers and toilets and faucets and all that they know where they can get some help with that since it's out there. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, great. Thank you, Councilmember Moore. And Vice Mayor Chow, did you want to share any closing comments or thoughts at this time?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, this is an important issue, and let's all work together here.
Great.
I think our home didn't have for a long time already. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Vice Mayor Chow. I'll just say in closing this item out, for the time being, I would like to bring forward a proclamation next month. It will be drought related. I don't know precisely how we'll couch it, but we might see it in terms of Drought Awareness Month in Cupertino and try to take some tangible measures. I think that the idea of a water audit makes a lot of sense. And so perhaps that's a service we could try to work together with our retailers, with the Valley Water District, to try to have a service where we would either go out to residents or try to work with the school districts. A lot of the water usage does come from fields. And so perhaps there are some types of outreach mechanisms where we can ask about whether people observe what perhaps don't look like optimal usage of sprinkler systems, for instance. A lot of the times, we do see a lot of that going unnoticed. So I do commend Cal Water as well as San Jose Water for their mechanisms of reaching out to their customers and being able to help them conserve. I do see that they have resources on their websites, but perhaps there's something that we could be working, cohesively together to try to set forth if we're going to make a stated effort under a particular observation of a month for, drought awareness. So thank you very much, everyone, for this item, and that'll close out the substantive items of our July 20th meeting. I see we have a couple of minutes left before 7 o'clock, and we have noticed the closed session for 7 o'clock, so I would like us to kind of be cognizant of that in case there are other members of the public that would like to go in on that separate closed session link. And so my first question will be to City Manager Larson. Did you have anything that you wanted to speak to with regard to this last item on our July 20th agenda that's been put forward here, which is formally council and staff comments, as well as future agenda items?
Not this evening, Mr. Mayor. Likely at my second council meeting, I will.
Okay, very good. And I'll go by hands. And again, we'll keep this half a minute or so. Councilmember Moore.
Right, thank you. So what I would like to do is reiterate that Councilmember Way and I were put on a subcommittee. And we did the summary at the previous council meeting, but our ask is that we direct staff to do a comparison table of what historic preservation efforts in Cupertino look like in comparison to the surrounding cities. And I can get into the details, through email, but the idea is that we get this comparison to see how we're stacking up. And the Cupertino Historical Society, they were very, very welcoming to us, giving us lots of information and a tour of Snyder Hammond House, and they've begun this survey already on their own, and they will provide their draft summary to the city. So
Councilmember Moore, I apologize for cutting you off. So I think what I'll do is I'll put a new designator on our August agenda, since we canceled the first meeting. That will be subcommittee report outs. And I think, 5 to 10 minutes would be fair with regard to that. And so, because I realize that you have done quite a bit of work, and so you're on 2 subcommittees as well. So if that's okay, I would like to get to other council members if they have a summary. Did you have any other substantive points that you wanted to share at this time?
Well, we want the staff direction to happen. So if we need to wait until August to then make the same request, we can do that. But it's going to be that same request that we do a comparison.
Okay, sounds good. And were you contemplating that would be on our August agenda for that? Because I think that you can put it into any kind of material that you'd like to publish in joint with the August agenda item as well. So I think we can accommodate what you're asking. And so I'll make sure to work with our city manager without, of course, creating a majority or anything like that, that we can get some of the substance in earlier rather than later.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much. Do we have any other council members that would like to speak to this particular part? Councilmember Willie.
Yeah, I'll just mention the three that, you know, I'm anxiously waiting to see. And that is, you know, the 5G, we gave staff direction to go off and be looking at what other cities have done and come back with what we could put in our ordinance to better help the residents. Number two is the Stevens Creek Boulevard Transit Corridor study session so that we're better prepared for San Jose's transit plan that they'd like us to participate in. And so that was seconded for a study session. And then the third one being the future of the farmers market that used to be at the Oaks, currently at Memorial Park, but that's on a fixed time. And we need to understand where it should be located at, best for the community. So those three for our new city manager to keep us abreast of when they'll come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Willie. And I take by no other hands raised. I really appreciate Vice Mayor Chow as well as Councilmember Way understanding that we are past our 7 o'clock time for a closed session. What I would like to do is to hold a brief moment of silence. There was an employee that did very tragically and unfortunately pass away in the last couple of days. He was at our Blackberry Farm golf course off duty playing golf. His name is George Robert Patterson and went by Bob. And I'd like to observe a moment of silence for Mr. Patterson. Thank you very much. And we will now go to closed session. I will remind our attendees as well as members of the public, closed session is a different link. You can reference it over at the agenda. And so my colleagues, you should have a closed session email from our city clerk with the link in the email for the panelist portion of this. And to the attendees for the public session,